Well, hello, everybody. This is Andrew Kordek again with iPost. I'm the VP of Customer Service. Welcome to another edition of Email Never Sleeps. And I got to tell you, I woke up this morning and I started looking at my schedule and I saw that we were recording this today with Celia Martin. And Celia has a history because she used to work for one of the companies that I used to work at. And she's with a brand new company, her own consultancy called CJM Strategies. Celia, introduce yourself. Give us a little bit about a background about yourself, as well as your new venture.
Sure. Thanks for having me on. So I'm Celia Martin. I own CJM Strategies. I lead organizations through customer journey mapping workshops where I analyze the brand interaction as well as the data that supports those interactions. I then create tactical roadmaps because you have to have something to do after the workshops. But really that deliver the right content to the right person at the right time. And I do that across different platforms, whether it's Marketing Cloud from Salesforce, Eloqua, HubSpot, you name it.
And how long have you been in this business, right? So I looked at your background. You've been in this quite a while, right?
Yeah, so I've been in international marketing for about 15 years, and I kind of fell into the digital email marketing space when I was at Delta Airlines. So I really fell into Marketing Cloud, used all of the training that's out there, including Google, of course, and really got up to speed on how to implement all of these different strategies, and whether it's out of the box from one of the platforms or how do you scrappily put it together.
Yeah. Well, and that's great because, you know, I think one of the things that I looked at both your background and my background, and when we start talking and when we had our pre-call, we started talking about journey mapping, and, you know, that's right up your alley and what you do now. And I love journey mapping. It's not as easy as everyone says that it is, right? You need to hire somebody with expertise. But the topic for today of Email Never Sleeps is loyalty emails. And as everybody knows, loyalty emails tend to be a little bit different than that of the traditional marketing emails. Loyalty emails can span across whether you're a part of a loyalty program, not part of a loyalty program, the ability to get somebody into a loyalty program. And you and I were chatting a little bit about this beforehand, and you said you have three sort of, I don't know, maybe mantras, pillars, whatever you want to call it, around loyalty email. I want you to tell everybody what those three are.
Right. And you hit it on the nail. So if you're talking about the batch and blast emails or even loyalty emails, we're inundated today with so many communications. I probably have about 10,000 emails in my inbox that I'm going to delete after this call. But it really takes a couple of key pieces to get me to open an email, to get me to interact, to get a customer to interact. And for me, those tend to be, it has to be personalized. It has to be measurable from the marketer's perspective because you're paying for all of these interactions, and it has to be iterable. Everything has to change on a dime because things change.
So talk to me a little bit about, because I'm going to kind of dive into a little bit of each one of these different things. My definition of personalization, your definition of personalization, or our audience's definition of personalization might be a little different. Tell me a little bit about what you mean by personalized.
Sure. And so in years past, personalized was, hello, Celia. And I'm like, oh, wow, they know my name. Yeah. But now it's really changed. There's data everywhere. So you have to be able to utilize that data, not just who I am, not just that I live in Georgia, not just that I have specific personalization, but also my behavior. Did I click on any emails? Did I open anything? What did I click on? Did it take me down a rabbit hole? That then you can use that data to send me more information, more communication to get me to really get to that call to action.
But how does a marketer, because I always kind of say there's this borderline of being creepy, right? And having all this data on that somebody, right? And not crossing over into that creep factor of being personalized, right? So what would be your advice about how to not cross over that fence when it comes to utilizing that data?
So I think it depends on the recipient. It's not going to be for everyone. Just knowing my name for some recipients is way too much. They're going to crash their computer with a hammer. They're just not going to be there. But for the
Right.
customers who are willing to give you that data, they
Mhm.
expect personalization. They expect you to only give them information that pertains to them. So
Right.
it's not for everyone.
Right. And when we start talking about, and you said your second point was measurability or measuring, right? People often measure their loyalty program based off of quote unquote engagement, right? Sometimes people quote it or use measurement as participation in the program, which kind of spills over to engagement, but it just depends. If you're only looking at engagement of emails, or you're looking at how do they redeem and things of that nature. Tell me a little bit about measurability and how you define it, and then I'll kind of follow up with maybe another question on how I define it.
Sure. That second point was the measurability. And so it all depends on your data. And my friend Molly always says, clean your damn data, because that is the foundation, whether it is personalization, how you segment your audience, or how you measure it. And the whole goal of all of this is ROI. You want people to have that call to action. And whether, like you said, it's the engagement factor, or whether it's the purchase, whether it's something they specifically do. That measurability needs to be aligned across all of your leaders, all of the teams, to make sure that we're saying, yep, we're doing these engagement factors and they are contributing to our bottom line, whether that's money or whether that's presence. So really getting into how do we measure our engagement, making sure that that data is cleaned up from the start so that we can prove out what we're doing.
And I'll kind of tap on that. It's a great point. I'll tap on to say measurability also depends upon where they're at in the journey, right? If I'm a new person to the loyalty program, what I do versus someone that's been in the program for 6 months or 6 years makes a difference, right? And so what brands have to do is set their measurability, or how they're going to measure the success of the email and how it carries over to engagement or conversion, right? Needs to be something around, where are they new? Are they existing? Are they old? Are they lapsed? So having clear segmentation around that measurability, because each one of them is going to be different, right? You kind of have to kind of do that. And is that something you've done before in the past, right? Where you look at different people?
And I think what you're explaining is that call to action is going to be different for each of those different segments. Those newbies, are they engaging? Are they looking at everything you have? Those other customers who might have already made a purchase or gone down specific routes, you want them to get even closer, more sticky to the brand. And so those call to actions are going to be a little bit different.
So how does iterable, right? How do you, when you say they need to be personalized, they need to be measurable, and then they have to be iterable, how does that play into these other two, right? Like what do you mean by that?
Well, things happen so fast nowadays. Wow.
Yeah.
But things happen so fast. COVID happened so fast. So the past 3 years, we've really learned that things have to change, and we need to be able to tactically get together, figure out what our next strategy is, and move forward. And because it's been 3 years, if companies haven't learned how to go digital, whether you're a mom and pop or someone who's done it for years, you haven't learned to do that very tactically and put the ROI behind it, then you're behind the curve.
So there's this notion of being nimble, right? Like you can have all the personalized data you want, right? And do that. And then you can say, well, we know how to measure everything, but there's this action of being nimble, whether you change or test or do a variety of different things. It's an investment. It's an investment in time, right? It's an investment in resources to change specific things. So give me an example, right? I'd love to get, based off of your experience, what are some loyalty programs that maybe do it extremely right? And then what are some, and you don't have to name them that do it wrong, but what are some of the actions of some of the companies that do it not so well? Love your thoughts on that.
So some of the good ones. So let's see, I order a lot of Chick-fil-A. I live in the South, but I do them on your app, and I get rewards based on those purchases because I want to go through there. So if Chick-fil-A, for example, knows that I order on a weekly basis and I skip a week, push me a notification saying, hey, use some of the rewards that you've already earned, which costs nothing more to Chick-fil-A, to go and order this. And it's a nice reminder. That's not even a call to action to, that it costs Chick-fil-A even more. It's just more of a reminder to use something that I have already earned.
Got it. I'd like to use an example of that. If I become a new loyalty program member, I think I read some statistic many years ago that we, on average, are in like 14 different loyalty programs. I'm probably involved in way more, and probably you are too. But there's this notion of redemption and program and points and how does it work and redemption and all this kind of stuff and channels and education. I'm a big believer in being educated, right? In email, whether it's downloading the app, whether it's reinforcing something as to why I signed up. We as marketers, we meaning you and I, we know the program, right? We understand the program, but with the clutter that you said in everyone's inbox, sometimes people get confused, right? Like, and I'm not saying that the customers are dumb, because by any means they're not. They just get confused as to how they can do it. So there's an education push that not only needs to happen in the beginning, but maybe even in the middle, right? Like how you can do that, how you can utilize. And when they do that, as opposed to just sending me an email, like whatever percentage off or whatever,
right,
encourages me. It gives me inspiration, right? In email. So I love brands that push me messages in whatever digital channel I'm in to encourage me to continue to participate. And
I
that
think
to me is
that's
throughout the life cycle. Right?
absolutely. And I think that's where some companies forget that it's not always, like you said, pushing 20% off, pushing $5 off. It's not always giving a discount for a loyalty program. It's the re-education. Hey, did you know you can use your points or miles or whatever's towards this? Did you know how? Have you downloaded our app to be able to seamlessly utilize those program points? It's not necessarily a discount on the products that they're serving.
Now, I know you work for Delta, but I'm an American guy. And I remember that when I used to travel a lot, American owned me. And every time when I used that and I get the email, and I was always kind of worried about like, where are my miles? How can I get, more miles? But I want to talk about perhaps maybe brands that maybe don't do a great job in how they deal with loyalty communications throughout the customer journey. I'd love for you to kind of give me 1 or 2 points that you see as sort of a brand falling down, right? And what they can do to pick that up.
Yeah, so it goes back to the data, right? And personalization. If I am part of a loyalty program, I've given you a lot of my data. I've made purchases to your company. And then you serve me an email that says, hey, we think you'd like this. Something I purchased last week. Something's not in sync. And that actually makes me a brand deflector because you don't know me and I've given you that data. You're trying to promote something I already have. So you obviously don't care enough or have your data aligned to understand who I am. And so that's where I think sometimes companies don't do a great job because their data is not aligned.
I'll also, and that's an amazing point. I'll also add on that to me, if I'm a top tier loyalty person, I feel, and I'll use the word entitled, and I don't want this to come off the wrong way. Sure. I feel entitled to be treated differently, right? If I've invested my time, money, or whatever into your organization, you should treat me differently. I should not get the same quote unquote deal or access that everybody else should have, right? So when I was, executive platinum or whatever I was, an American, right, I expected to be treated differently. But even at the food level, right, like you mentioned, Chick-fil-A or somebody else, right, you should have additional perks and you should be made aware of those digital perks. And you should I call it the digital hug, right? Whether it's in the creative, whether it's in the program, and whether it's reinforced throughout that sort of communication. That digital hug is really, really important.
And companies sometimes think that that's hard to do, and it's really not. It's looking at different personas, different levels within the loyalty program, and setting up, how do we want to talk to this group? And then set that up to basically be automated in the background. Of course, that iterable comes in where you have to go back and check to make sure that
right. Totally.
But it's not like you're sending each one of those personas one email at a time. you're automating that. And so it's just looking at that strategy and then implementing an automation.
So we're getting towards the end. Love key takeaways. What are some key takeaways that if you have this, you do have this captive audience right now, what would you want somebody to take away from this conversation?
If you have a loyalty program or even just a batch and blast email, make it pertinent to your customers. Make sure that you are personalizing, whether that's about who they are or how they've engaged with your brand. So make it personable. Make sure that you're able to measure that on the background and you've aligned across all leadership and teams that the measure actually makes sense.
Yeah.
Because it'll change across organizations, across industries, and then be able to change on a dime. And if you ever need help with any of that, of course, you can contact me and I'd love to help you out.
And where would they contact? Not just LinkedIn, looking up your name and stuff like that, but what's the website they should get a hold of you at?
Sure. You can reach me at cjmstrategies.com.
cjmstrategies.com. One final point I want to make from the key takeaway is it's not that hard to make sure that people are being treated special in your loyalty program. I'm sure we've all gone to a store or wanted to join something and that person's like, would you like to sign up for rewards and get $5 off? It's not, there's no emotion, and people are loyal because of emotion. And I always bring in this emotionality to the brand, and it goes well beyond just points and aspects and stuff. People today, and I think COVID has brought this on, or even the culture that we live in, people want to feel connected to the brand. And so the way to build loyalty is to feel this connection, not just off of the program itself, but of the company itself. And when you have extreme brand loyalists, people that believe in your program, you need to inject that into the communications that you have. So that's my key takeaway. So Celia Martin, oh my gosh, thank you so much. This has been amazing. I wanted to thank you, and I wanted to thank everybody again for watching, and another email never sleeps. We'll hopefully come back at you in the future, Celia, to give us some more great insights in what you have. I wanted to thank you again, and thank you everybody for attending. I appreciate it. Take care, everyone.
Thank you so much.